Well, a very good morning to you all from trackside at Road America. This is the North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPCUSA.com on DriversEye Live. My name is Brendan Kazmarek, joined this morning by Ryan West. Good morning, Ryan.
Morning.
And Tanner Johnson on production as well. Silent partner up in the Great White North, who sent us plenty of wildfire smoke yesterday. Considerably better conditions this morning. It's a little windier, a little cooler, a little more temperate. Visibility is much better, and we're set for another day of fantastic racing. But as Bob Varsha would say, before you can race, first you must qualify, and that's exactly where we're at this morning. A 25-minute qualifying session for the Formula Atlantic's Formula 1000s combined. We're interested in the North American Formula 1000 Championship, as always. We lost John Willoughby yesterday due to a blown engine in qualifying, so we're down to our 6 cars, but they put on a cracking race yesterday. And everybody out on track this morning, just after F1000 qualifying with the Formula Race Promotion Circus with us this weekend as always. A chance to set the grid for round 10 of the 2021 championship. Ryan, you are a stranger to the North American Formula 1000 Championship, but no stranger to Road America, something of a home circuit now because Brainerd doesn't count. And
I'd say Brainerd does count at least, so I'm
but
pretty
we don't
close.
go there. So
it counts as much as Thunder Hill counted as my home circuit. I mean,
fair.
As far as not being real, quote unquote, real. But yeah, Road America, a good place to stretch the legs on these F1000 cars. Probably the fastest circuit on the calendar, I would imagine. One of, if not the fastest circuit in the country. We also have Joseph Moodrock with us. Joseph, what do you think about Road America?
Well, good morning. But I digress. Road America is great in the morning. Especially, I mean, you hate the cause of the haze, but the haze does lend itself to some pretty great ambience, which you don't usually get at 9:20 in the morning. There's some atmospherics that do that didn't don't usually show up. The last time we were here, it was a lot more kind of clear and straightforward.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a nice morning anyway. Like I said, very pleasant. It's a great day for racing. We're here with the USAC Porsche Sprint Challenge as well. They're laying down their own unique rubber. Never mind these Hoosier racing tires on the Formula 1000s. Apparently my shot framing this morning was terrible. So we'll have to go adjust that later. But nevertheless, our run for pole this morning, Alex Mayer took our pole for round 9, race 1 yesterday, the 206.9, so he'll be looking to better that. I don't know if he would slap the second set of Hoosier racing tires on this morning and go for pole, or just save those for the race tomorrow afternoon, or this afternoon, excuse me. I wouldn't be shocked if he just keeps the old set on this morning, brings him up to temperature and pressure, and tries to lay down a flyer. My guess is he'll only need to get into about the 7s to do it. I spoke to Dustin Hodges down in the pit lane, and he was pretty confident that Nathan Bird was going to be able to challenge Alex over a full race run, especially if he's able to stay in the draft, which we spoke about at some length yesterday. This morning, though, considerably tougher unless you have one of those drafting partners. These long straights, like Ryan mentioned, really allow you to stretch the legs. But without a slipstreaming partner, it sort of leaves you at VMAX well before the end of the straightaway. And even in some cases, yesterday I had cars bouncing off the rev limiter. You don't have the gearing exactly right. So we'll keep an eye on what we see on track this morning. I didn't see a drafting partner for Alex Mayer as yet.
Whoa, look at that.
Oh, this is out the front.
This
Good
is under
work,
the front.
Dustin. Holy cow. I thought Dustin was going on top of the rear this morning. This is fantastic.
Now, who is this? Is this on board?
This is Nathan Bird.
Oh, okay. Now,
This is phenomenal.
I hope Nathan doesn't complain about the loss of downforce, because I think this is going to be right on the pylon of the front wing.
Well, it's mounted upside down, so I think it's actually underneath the nose cone.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, which is still, there's airflow through the double mounts, the double front wing mounts underneath the nose cone. But it's a great shot. And if you want to sense the speed of these North American Formula 1000 cars, the erstwhile Formula B formula for the SCCA, this is how you do it. Right up against the track surface. with one of our onboard cameras. This is a fantastic view of this Road America circuit. That turn 6 that we just went through there, a tricky corner. Some coaching being offered to Nathan Bird as a point of time loss during practice on Friday. But Joseph or Ryan, feel free to take this one away. It's a blind corner. You come up under the Corvette bridge, and you've sort of got to commit to braking and turning before you ever get to actually see the apex of the corner.
Yeah, coming out of the carousel now, that might be flat out for most of it after you turn in. Then it'll be flat out through the kink here. A little bit of inside.
Yeah, our camera doesn't care for the curbs.
No, doesn't make it all the way out to the exit curves, but through Kettle Bottoms, it'll be heavy braking into Canada Corner. He's not going to use everything there, so he's leaving a little bit to the inside and to the outside. That'll be look for a little bit of improvement soon. Then it'll be a fast, probably flat out through Bill Mitchell Bend over.
Has a name?
It does, yeah.
I've been watching racing at Road America for 15 years.
Turn 14
is a
tricky one. He's coming into the pits. That explains why he's not using everything. But turn 14 is a tricky one because it's a little bit of there's a turn in that braking zone. So depending on how comfortable you are with that, you may end up cutting a little bit, cheating to the inside a little bit to straighten that out.
Yeah, that entry is ever so slightly off camber as well. And,
I think it is worth noting, last time we were here at Road America, those bumps on the outside of Canada Corner are huge. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't see very many F1000 cars venturing out that far. You might have, one or two tires placed on the outside, kind of on the painted bit. But they were upsetting, GT4 cars and TCRs running that wide. So unless I can be, proven wrong from yesterday, I think we'll see everybody cheat to the inside a little bit there.
Both the exit of 14 and the exit of 5, which we saw yesterday, the battle with Riley Harris and Doug Hertz, both of them multiple times out over the giant rumble strips on the exit of turn 5. And it just absolutely kills the momentum if you end up way out there. You can run 2 tires over that and be okay, but as soon as you send the floor of the car out over those curbs, it just absolutely kills the acceleration of the car.
Yeah, I mean, these things basically drive like go-karts with wings. Go-karts with wings and super bike engines. So it's a really, if you hit one of those bumps, it's not just unsettling to the car, it's unsettling to your hands. It's going to jostle your entire body. So it's, there are so many disincentives to taking those bumps. It looks like a sequential shifter.
It is. Yeah, that's on board with Charles Livingston, the number 33. Steve Hamilton at the moment, your fast time of the morning, a 209.324. Both Alex Mayer and Nathan Bird, who we expect to be contenders for pole, have spent, they spent a couple laps out on track, bringing everything up to temperature and pressure. They both come in, check the pressures, adjust as necessary to get the hot pressures exactly right for a quick lap, and then send it out in the second half of the session to do exactly that.
Now, yeah, you see on this lap, this is a hot one because he's taken everything to the left, everything to the right, and everything to the left again. He's going to sweep it right here. The gear shift is ahead of the corner. And let's see, how far does he track to the left? Yeah, he cheats a little bit to the inside, but not too much. Just
now, very much squaring that corner off, Joseph.
Yeah, I was paying more attention to the entry than to actually where he apexed, but that's another one where these are cars where, because they're so lightweight, you might choose to apex a little early. There's not a ton of penalty to apexing early rather than late because the grunt of the engine is going to pull you out of that so quickly. You're gonna hit top speed, really.
Tanner, let's stay on this turn 3 camera here. We're going to pick up Alex Mayer up over the crest of the hill there at turn 2 in just a second. I think he's on a flyer here. There he is. That's the number 77. And I think with any luck, this will be a potential pole lap from Alex Mayer. Currently, like we mentioned, Steve Hamilton on provisional pole, a 209.324. Doug Hertz in second, a 211 flat. Riley Harris third, a 211.596. Mayer's quickest time is a 212.6, but this will be the first representative time. Well, it was until he locked the brakes on the way into turn number 5.
Hopefully that is the old set of tires. You'd hate to ruin a brand new set with that lockup.
And maybe that's why he's taking the chances here, because he knows this won't be his race set anyway. Nathan Bird has also come across the start-finish line on what I assume will be a full-speed qualifying lap.
This is an interesting track in terms of tire wear because you really only have one or two high-speed corners. The kink is almost a non-corner in these cars. The carousel will put a lot of strain through the tires. The kink at 7 might, but everything here is relatively low speed, so I wouldn't be shocked if we had quite a few competitors making it through the whole weekend on one set.
Yeah, it depends on how hard you're pushing the car, doesn't it? Especially through the carousel and turn 1, turn 3 to some extent. But like you mentioned, the kink is easy flat, so these cars aren't really stressing, pushing the limits through there.
I mean, if you were driving on a budget, it wouldn't be shocking to say, well, all the fast corners are right-hand corners. We'll just swap the tires around and send it for Sunday.
On board with Nathan Bird, who, like we mentioned, is himself on a quest to set a representative time here. Alex Mayer will be the next one. He's actually just come through. A 2:06.6 is the new provisional pole time for F1000, about 0.3 quicker than he went yesterday morning in our first qualifying session. Bird will be challenging that this time around. I think Bird's quickest lap of the weekend has been in the mid-9s. Also worth noting, Alex did that time without a slipstream. He was on his own the entire lap. And as Nate heads down, it's Kettle Bottoms, isn't it? This run to Canada Corner.
Every time I see the connection cut out on this camera, I'm like, oh no, it's gone.
Yeah, it's tough backing through there. The trees hang over the track, very atmospheric and very spooky to watch from trackside. Gets back to the apex of 14, out over the curb on the exit.
This feels like a proper effort.
Lean
back in the seat up the hill.
He's already come through on Race Monitor. I can tell you the lap time is at 2:10.1, which has left him still P4 behind Steve Hamilton, who now sits P3 because Doug Hertz is into second. A 2:09.2 from the Furman chassis number 13 of Doug Hertz puts him onto the provisional front row. I have to assume there was a slipstream involved there, which will explain some of that and also explains why Bird is stuck outside that top 3 at the moment. And unless he can find himself a slipstreaming partner, I don't know.
Well, and Hertz just went faster again. He's now at a 2:09.2.
Well, and just as you say that, Ryan, he's bumped back to third because Steve Hamilton does a 2:09 flat. So the front row provisionally is the same as we had it yesterday. Mayer and Hamilton. Doug Hertz is P3. Nathan Bird is now P4. Hertz is into the pit lane, so I think that'll be his qualifying session done. And based on his times for the rest of the weekend, I would not be shocked if he thinks the 2:09.2 is about as quick as that Furman chassis is going to go. Riley Harris, a 2:11.287, sits P5, and Charles Livingston, who we rode on board with a little bit earlier in that blue car, out over his shoulder, 2:12.8. I think I saw that car in the pit lane earlier. Mayer is in the pits. That'll be his day done. They take temperatures and pressures on those Hoosier Racing tires, and he'll sit on that 2:06.6 in the hopes that that'll hold on for pole later on this morning. In the meantime, see Riley Harris come through the shot at turn 6 and 7. And we keep an eye on that number 39 of Nathan Bird on live timing to see if he can get himself not just onto the front row, but he's got to put an effort in here just to get up to third ahead of Doug Hertz. It's almost a second between the 13 and the 39. There goes Nathan Bird. It's an improvement into the 9s, a 2:09.793. We'll pick it up on the onboard here in just a second. There we go. But that's still over half a second behind that 13 Furman. So, like we mentioned, without a drafting partner here, guys, I don't know that Nathan or the car has the raw pace in it to be able to challenge for third or second here.
He may not, but let's remind ourselves again that we've got a whole race ahead of us and only 6 cars in the class. So even being down in 4th or 5th isn't going to be the end of the world for your race. It's always nice to say that you can start on the front row, right? But like we've been talking about, you've got the ability to draft people down all these long straights, especially in these smaller cars. So he should still be okay. Obviously, you want to go quick, but not the end of the world, I don't think.
The counterpoint to that, Ryan, is that if Alex Mayer is going to get the jump from pole, like is typically the case, you would want to be as close to his rear wing as possible and stay in that slipstream, because that's your chance to fight over the course of a race. If he gets away and you have no slipstream in front of you, Alex is so consistent and so good at managing the gap behind him, even over a full race distance, that it's going to be really, really hard to try and claw any of that margin back. Now, we run these races for a reason. Anything can happen. We can end up with a safety car. We can end up with cars having to conserve a little fuel. All the circumstances that can conspire over a 12-lap race leave things very much wide open. But it would be a big help, I think, to Nathan Bird here if he can get at least one more spot. That way, at least he's immediately behind Alex in the same row, or in the same column, if you will, even if he's not alongside.
This feels like it might be an in-lap here. It's not really... We'll see, but he's leaving an awful lot of space.
Well, remember that this camera is mounted in the center. You've got quite a bit of distance on either side of the center of the front wing here. That will be out over the curbs. I understand. Well, improvement 209.5, and it's still not enough for a positional improvement. It's down to 0.3 from 0.5 from Nathan up to the number 13 to Doug Hertz. If he can find himself about a third of a second, he could manage it. But with the tires, every lap they get a little bit warmer. And he's got to keep pushing to try and find that pace. He just has no slipstream. He would do well to look at maybe backing off and trying to get himself behind an Atlantic, because I think that could be a real ticket to a couple of miles an hour down these long straightaways at Road America. In the meantime, a real challenge for him, I think. Riley Harris is into the pit lane in the number 12. That'll be his qualifying session done.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be an awfully not. Let's be clear. This seems like a bit of a walk-away for Alex here. But
for pole, certainly.
Yeah, but it's an awfully tight fight between second and fourth here. The second steps of the podium, and potentially the win if something happens to Alex's car, feel very much in contest here.
And they were yesterday. We saw a fantastic scrap, didn't we, between Riley Harris, Doug Hertz, Steve Hamilton, the three H's, as it were. With Nathan Bird's mechanical issue, he did not really feature yesterday, but we could be throwing a fourth car into that mix. And every time they hold themselves up, Charles Livingston enters the fray. He was, I think he ended up P4 yesterday, P3? No, I actually don't remember. I need to go back and look at the results. But he did end up competitive yesterday, I think, as Riley Harris sort of slipped back. So like we said, anything can happen in these 12-lap races this weekend. And the midfield, like you said, Joseph, is so close and so competitive that even in qualifying we see it close, but in the race that leads to really competitive action for the second or third steps on the podium. Checkered flag waves at start finish. And at the moment, it's Alex Mayer who looks to be set for pole for round 10 of the 2021 North American Formula 1000 Championship. Steve Hamilton still sits second at 209 flat. Hertz a 209.270. Bird has come through and completed an eighth lap. It's a 209.289. He picked up 0.3 almost exactly. But he's going to come up 19 thousandths of a second short of P3 in qualifying. So Mayer, Hamilton, Hertz, Nathan Bird in the 39, P4 in the Arrive Drive Motorsports JDR. Ahead of Riley Harris in the number 12, that Van Diemen chassis, and Charles Livingston rounding out the field in P6, that blue number 33 JDR. I got to be honest, guys, I had expected this fight to be all Mayer and Bird at the front. Instead, Steve Hamilton and Doug Hertz, mega efforts in qualifying this morning to put themselves P2 and P3.
Yeah, pretty stunning. And then also I want to take a look at just real quick in the Atlantics. There is 8th place ran a 2 minutes 8 seconds, and then 9th and 10th ran in the 2:16 mark. So there could be some potential for drafting at the beginning of the race, no? Or do we not start class next to class?
It's a split start.
Well, there's a split, but there's enough of a pace overlap here that I think that it came into play yesterday, and I think it'll come into play a little bit today too.
Okay.
It almost certainly will. And inevitably somebody gets held up one lap and you think everything's going to come together. That traffic throws such a wrench into things that it almost feels like there's an inevitable spreading out of the field as everybody tries to individually work their way through those Atlantics. You would have thought that maybe there's an opportunity for slip streaming there, but as Joseph mentioned, there's such a performance gap between the back end of the Atlantics and the front end of the F1000s that really they just they mix things up for a couple laps and then they dispose of them and the F1000s carry on.
Yeah, something that we'll maybe talk about more not tomorrow. I've made the same error now, but later in the day, there were fuel concerns or worries yesterday. They'll have had that race, and it went flag to flag. It was green all the way. They'll know exactly how much fuel it takes to run 14. It was 14, I think, yesterday.
I have
14.
I have news.
Was it 12?
It's 12 today.
Okay. Well, divide what you spent by 14 and change for the formation lap, and work out the math. And now you know exactly how much fuel you need to put in that car.
Yeah. The story is it'll be, I think, 15 for the Atlantics and then 12 for the F1000. So they'll receive, it won't be a checkered flag as such. They'll complete their 12th lap and then come into the pits, and that will be the end of the race for the F1000s. The explanation there, if you're curious as to why that's the case, their fuel tank is roughly the same size as the Formula 2000s. It's the way these cars were designed. It's Formula B from SCCA, which runs the same distance pretty much everywhere. This is by some margin the highest fuel consumption circuit will run at this year. So even though the mileage is identical, something like 55, 60 miles over the course of a race, it's much more full throttle time, and the fuel consumption is so much higher than we'd get, at a place like Summit Point, a place like Mid-Ohio, that there is some concern there, and there was considerable concern yesterday, and the solution has been to just shorten the race by a lap or two down to 12 laps, and that'll ensure that everybody can push on unabated to the checkered flag and make it home without having to have too much concern over fuel mileage or fuel consumption. So, qualifying for round 10 of the 2021 North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPC USA. Done and dusted. Alex Mayer is your pole sitter for race 10 to come this afternoon. He'll share the front row with Steve Hamilton, the number 93. Row 2, Doug Hertz and Nathan Bird. Pair of JDR chassis. It's a Furman and a JDR on row 2. And then row 3, Riley Harris and Charles Livingston in the 12 and 33, respectively, will start side by side at the tail end of the field. John Willemy did not make the repairs necessary, by which I mean replacing an engine. There was a thought yesterday that maybe he was running the engine that was on its last legs, and that once it launched itself, that was going to be the end of it. Even though they did pick up a new motor, it wasn't installed, and they actually just finally ran the engine that was going to need a head gasket out of its life, and that was that. So no John this weekend, unfortunately, but we've got a cracking race to come this afternoon with our 6 Formula 1000 competitors. That will be live on DriversEye Live, 2:15 Central Time for the green flag. We'll be live here at about 2:05 on YouTube and on Facebook, so make sure to join us then. Also, keep an eye on the DriversEye Live YouTube for onboard streaming from the Formula 1600 Championship Series. Ax Kamichis, who celebrates his 21st birthday today, actually.
Happy birthday,
Ax. Yeah. I'll be carrying his onboard for us, carrying our onboard for us today.
We've got an appropriate sponsor for him.
We do. Kavana rum.
Kavana rum, yes. He's got a sponsor this weekend as well, actually. Hot Betty's, which is a breakfast bar down in the Atlanta area. They make hot sauce as well, which is apparently their primary focus at the moment. But they're live streaming a bunch of sessions this weekend that we're covering here, whether it's Access Onboard or our feed. So thanks to everybody at Hot Betty's for that. And hello to everybody down there. Join us for those sessions. Race 2 for the 1600s at 10:50 Central. Race 3 at 3 o'clock Central to round out our weekend. And, of course, our feature race for the Formula 1000s at 2:15 Central Time, the green flag. Join us about 10 minutes prior. And we'll bring you 12 laps of action to close out our weekend at Road America. Thanks to Ryan West and Joseph Mudrak for joining me this morning. Tanner Johnson, of course, as well, producing our feed. I'm Brendan Kazmarek, and we will all be back live in a couple of hours' time for round 10 of the 2021 North American F1000 Championship presented by EPC USA. Bye for now.